Merry Christmas. It's me, Billy. Merry Christmas, everyone. This is Stone Gasman live from New York. And yes, I'm here for the audio commentary for the 1974 classic horror film directed by Bob Clark called Black Christmas. The one, the only, the original. I will be talking about the 2006 and 2019 versions as well during this commentary. Well, actually, for the last one, very very little, but because I haven't seen it, and this is one of my favorite horror films, and it still stands as one of the scariest that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it eclipses The Exorcist, The Shining, even The Haunting. Robert Wise's The Haunting. It even eclipses that as far as scary movies for me are concerned. And we're gonna talk about a lot of things about this movie, but what I'm looking forward to the most is talking about the actors, because I think this movie has a very marquee cast, and I'm very excited to talk about the film and watch it with you all. But first, let me just acknowledge everybody in the chat real quick. Jinx Hart, glad you could join me tonight. Merry Christmas, Stone. Never seen this one. Should be interesting. Yes, and I was going to say also before we begin that it is available for free on YouTube. I should have put that in the description when I scheduled this, and I do apologize for that, but it is available for free viewing on YouTube. Let me just go ahead and grab that link real quick, and I will go ahead and post it. Okay, I just posted a link in the chat for anybody who wants to watch it, because it is available on YouTube for free. And I really hope you like it, Jinx, because this is a great, great horror movie. Merry Christmas, Daniel. Glad you could join me tonight as well. Wonderful to have you. Cliff Booth saw this for the first time this month. Wow. Yeah, it's interesting because, Black Christmas, it was one of those movies that took a long time for people to discover, sort of like with Harold and Maude. It just, horror films, horror fans, I think even it took a long time for people to actually discover, oh, wow, this actually exists. Yeah, it does. So, but anyway, let me just bring this up. That's the link if you want to watch the movie for free on YouTube. Thank goodness it is. Of course, this Blu-ray that I have from Scream Factory, it boasts a new 2K scan from the negative, and I will say it doesn't look perfect, but it looks good enough. It looks really, really good. And I'll be talking about some of the bonus features and stuff on this Blu-ray as well. But at any rate, tell you what, I will give everybody just a few more seconds here. I am paused at the screen with the text "Film Funding" in association with Vision 4 Presents. All right, so this is a Canadian film, and actually, it's my favorite Canadian movie of all time. Yeah, I mean, it's my favorite Canadian movie, which is really, really odd. But at the same time, I'm just glad that I've been able to let people know on Twitter about that, including Olivia Hussey herself. She is well aware of how much I love this movie, and and granted, the fan base is pretty large, but the thing is, I don't think it's quite as big as Halloween, even though Halloween kind of owes a little bit of its partial existence to Black Christmas. I mean, Bob Clark and John Carpenter do have a connection that we will talk about later during the commentary. But at any rate, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. Actually, I'll just leave this up real quick, just for just a few more minutes. But tell you what, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are at the film funding text on screen, and we will count down from 3 and press play as usual. All right, 3, 2, 1, and play. And we hear some bells. We open up on this large house Black Christmas, copyright film funding 1974. Now, and it opens up with Silent Night, Holy Night. I mean, I love every aspect about this movie, from the music to the sound to the performances to the scares. I mean, and it's just full of so much that I adore. And it's one of my favorite Christmas movies. I mean, I think I've already said it's my favorite Canadian movie. It's one of my favorite horrors, and it's absolutely without a doubt one of my favorite Christmas movies, next to like The Ref, The Muppet Christmas Carol, and just a few others here. But anyway, this movie has a couple of inspirations. Credit to screenplay by Roy Moore. And it's based on basically two inspirations. It's based on an urban legend called The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs, which is an old urban legend that apparently a babysitter was looking after looking after kids, and it kept on getting phone calls throughout the night from somebody who wouldn't identify themselves and ask just to check on the kids, basically. And apparently the calls were, well, I'm not going to give it away right now for those who haven't seen it, because there are obviously people here who have never seen Black Christmas, and you are in for a stocking full of treats right here. Now, oh god, this POV shot that opens it up. Apparently, the original cameraman that Bob Clark hired, was a little drunk uh, during this, and he was eventually fired and replaced by Reginald Morris, who later shot A Christmas Story for Bob Clark. Yes, this is the same Bob Clark that wrote and directed, directed A Christmas Story in 1983, which has, of course, become a holiday classics. And this figure, this black figure that's looking in the window, that is actually director Bob Clark. That is not Nick Mancuso. That is not any other actor. That is, in fact, the producer-director Bob Clark. And, of course, Bob Clark, he also directed comedies like Porky's and Rhinestone. And let's just say that the director's trademark sense of humor is all over this movie. I mean, the humor in this movie is jet black. And I mean, like I said, this movie, what I love about it is that the fact that it can be so funny one moment, and then on a dime it becomes terrifying. And that, to me, is, that's a wonderful combination of black comedy and horror that I've seen in any other film. And of course, here's Margot Kidder and Andrea Martin, who are both well known now. Margot Kidder had just come off of Brian De Palma's Sisters, which admittedly I haven't seen in many, many years, but I remember it being I remember it being one of De Palma's better films of the 70s. And but of course, what audiences tend to know Margot Kidder from is, of course, Lois Lane in Superman. Now, okay, these POV shots, I swear, are some of the creepiest, most unnerving, just most disturbing bits in a horror movie I've ever seen. We never see. I'll give one thing away at this point. We never see this guy. This guy that just climbed up the side of the house and is entering the attic. We have no idea who the hell this guy is. No idea. I mean, we hear his breathing. We know that and he does sound like a male, obviously. But yeah, he's just some guy that just climbed up the side of the house and is now hiding out in the attic of this large sorority house. And even though this movie is supposed to be set in America, because we will see some American flags later, this was actually all shot in Canada and all shot in Ontario. And like I said, it was a film that actually even won some Canadian Film Awards, including for Margot Kidder. Now, that might have been a rare um, example of the cinematographer just coming down the ladder with the camera in his hand and, coming up on this floor, looking down at Margot Kidder, who's, still on the phone with her mother down there. This is Art Hindle. And these two were actually dating during the making of the movie, and she is I forget her name off the top of my head. Let's see. Wait a minute. Yeah, they don't have her name on the back, but she does a whole new featurette on that Blu-ray that I was showing you earlier, and But I've been a massive Margot Kidder fan ever since Superman. I mean, I grew up with the Superman movies religiously. And even if 3 and 4 are not nearly as good, and well, what's kind of sad is that Margot's role in Superman 3 was diminished to a glorified cameo. And in Superman 4, even though it was great to see her again and be a love interest for Clark, they added a rival love interest in Mariel Hemingway's character. But Margot Kidder, she's done many, many other movies. In fact, she won a Genie Award for Best Actress in 1981, along with Nick Mancuso, who's about to provide all these disturbing gibberish noises over the phone here. Both won acting awards in 1981 for Canadian films. In fact, when Nick Mancuso won, and he's more well known as a voice artist, I think, but he was actually considered for the lead role in Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, because he won that award. Which is really bizarre because he plays like a Jim Jones type cult leader. But at any rate, these phone calls are without a doubt the most disturbing I've ever heard in cinema. This was a very, very early example of a film utilizing the word cunt. The whoever's on the phone here uses that word several times. But it didn't alarm the MPAA enough to give it an X rating. It got an R rating, and it was released. Originally, the first release was in Canada in October of 1974. Why they didn't wait till December is anybody's guess. And while Warner Brothers, the American distributor, did release it on December 20th, 1974, they ended up changing the title from Black Christmas to Silent Night, Evil Night. And the rationale behind that title change is because they didn't want people to think it was a blaxploitation movie. But at the same time, to give Warner Brothers credit, after that, they did reinstate the title Black Christmas. And of course, that's how everybody knows the film now. But the film has also another alternative title. It was released on television under the title Stranger in the House, which is kind of bland. But of course, the controversy surrounding that is that in 1978, this film was about to premiere on American television. And this was literally 2 weeks after Ted Bundy murdered some sorority sisters down in Florida. So the network decided to basically pull it from being shown, which is understandable. I mean, considering this is a movie about sorority girls that get murdered during the Christmas holidays, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. But but this film is now considered a classic. I mean, and I think it even goes beyond the horror genre. I mean, I think this film is so well made and so well acted and so well executed. Especially the ending. I mean, I'm not going to give away the ending, of course, but it's just it's brilliant, and I think it's about as brilliant an ending as I ever have seen in any movie, not just horror. But Margot Kidder is like this nasty, she has this really nasty, vulgar tongue, which she exercises throughout the entire movie, which I love. Yep, she was Lois Lane in the Superman. Have you ever checked out Superman and Lois season 1? I have not. Honestly, um, I still need to finish the Supergirl television series, which if you can see, it's right by me on the right side. If you're looking at me on the screen, you'll see the first 4 seasons of Supergirl, and I still have yet to get the others. Yeah, I mean, after the okay, just real quick. I mean, just to also, even though it's kind of irrelevant, I will say real quick that after the Richard Donner, Richard Lester movies kind of ran their course in the 1980s, of course, Superman was off screen for so long. I am not a fan of Man of Steel. I had a migraine when I saw it in the theater, and I hate pretty much everything about that movie. In fact, I even compared Zack Snyder and his wife to General Zod and Ursa from Superman 2, because in Superman 2, there's that famous destruction in Metropolis, and General Zod says, "This Superman is nothing of the kind. I have discovered his weakness. He cares. He actually cares about these Earth people." And Ursa says, "Like pets." Yeah. Man of Steel, he doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself, and he causes half of Metropolis to die due to Zod's destruction. That's not a hero to me. And no, I am not going to root for Superman just because he's hot. That scene at the end, with the rubble and the Daily Planet report is saying, well, he's kind of hot. He literally destroyed your entire city, you idiot. So yeah, I can't stand Man of Steel. So I'm gonna shut up about that. I do apologize, but I just wanted to emphasize that my love of Superman was kind of tainted a little bit after that Zack Snyder movie. But this is Marion Waldman as Mrs. Mack, the sorority house mother. And originally, this role was supposed to be played by Betty Davis, of all people, but she turned the role down. And it's funny because Betty Davis also starred in another movie, which I consider one of the scariest I've ever seen, which is the 1980 classic, The Watcher in the Woods, released by Walt Disney. And of course, this is just me, and I know I'm in the extreme minority, and always will be, but I don't care. The Watcher in the Woods, as far as I'm concerned, it makes The Shining look like Sesame Street. That's how scary I think The Watcher in the Woods is, and it's never given enough credit or enough credit for that. But at any rate, so we just saw somebody in jeans walk up there, which is apparently the stranger in the house. And according to Bob Clark, that was literally all he was show of this individual. Literally it. We see a couple of shots of him in the shadows later, particularly his one eye, his right eye is prominent in a few scenes, which we'll get to later. But right now, let's enjoy Mrs. Mack, just having some good old BOOZE during this Christmas Eve party. One of the running gags in this movie is that apparently she has like a bottle hidden in every room somewhere, and she has to take a shot every time she enters a new room in the house and she's by herself. But I really love Mrs. Mack in this movie. Bob Clark said that he brought this character in to liven up the script a little bit. He didn't want this to be, even though the term slasher film hadn't really been coined about this time, like Halloween, this is a proto-slasher. Twitch of the Death Nerve, Black Christmas, and then Halloween were the definitive proto-slashers of the 1970s. But Bob Clark, he wanted to add, like I said, his trademark black humor. And he also wanted to, endear these characters with what I love about Canadians is that, of course, everybody talks about how they're so nice. And that's the thing. The characters in this movie genuinely care about each other, unlike the 2006 remake, which I'll talk about later. But Yeah, I mean, all these characters, they're very, very concerned about their well-being. They're concerned about their friends' well-being. I mean, and they're just all like really nice to each other. There's not really any real animosity between any of these characters. And then, of course, you have this guy hanging out in the attic, doing. I mean, he just murdered one of the sorority sisters, strangled her, and took her body up to the attic. Uh, I love Mrs. Mack. Mrs. Mack is just one of those characters that I immediately fall in love with just because she's so damn funny. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Oh, Bob Clark said that that was easily the biggest laugh in the whole movie was when, when she takes the bottle out of the toilet. Now, I don't know if I would put my lips to that, consider if it's been in like you know. It's so good. So now, of course, this is Olivia Hussey. Now, Olivia Hussey garnered international fame in 1968, along with our other top billed star, which we'll meet very soon. Um, but Olivia Hussey had played Juliet at 15 years old in Romeo and Juliet, directed by Franco Zeffirelli, which is considered by, I think, a lot of historians to be the definitive version of the play. Um, I wouldn't mind making that argument, although I'll be perfectly honest, I do prefer West Side Story. I do prefer the 1961 version of West Side Story, but and there was Claire. Now the actress apparently had this unique talent of being able to hold her breath for several minutes. And I think that she believes to this day is the reason why she got the part was because of that very reason. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Jinx. I'm not joking. I mean, I showed this to my lady friend earlier today, and she had seen it decades ago, but she had completely forgotten about it. I can't emphasize enough how disturbing and scary this movie is. I mean, it works for me in a way that most other horror films which have these massive followings. This one does it for me so for some reason. There's just something so unnerving about it. And as you can see, we're in Canada, there's snow everywhere. And that's the thing. The cinematography by Reginald Morris. I mean, you could feel the chilly air, hitting these actors, and their hair is flying around because of I mean, this film is just it chills me to my bone in some scenes. You could actually feel the winter weather in every one of these, and it's the cinematographer was the younger brother of Oswald Morris, who had shot many of Mel Brooks's movies. He did Young Frankenstein with Mel Brooks the same year in 1974. But this is Keir Dullea on the left. And he, of course, was in the 1968 film 2001 A Space Odyssey, directed by Stanley Kubrick. He played Dave Bowman, who had his. Okay, before we talk more about him, though, this bit where this guy dresses up for Santa, he's obviously not having it. Ho ho ho, fuck. And here the black comedy just goes to 10. Check this out. The first time I saw this, I was like, what the hell? Comedy is all about reaction. It's all about reaction, ladies and gentlemen, okay? And that's the thing is that, Bob Clark, he's famous for his comedies like Porky's, A Christmas Story, Rhinestone, and especially with Porky's, because in Porky's there's that great sequence, even though I kind of talked about it already on the Harold and Maude commentary. But there's this great sequence in Porky's where the gym teacher wants to charge a student for slipping his penis in the wall when they were looking at the girls in the shower room. And she basically wanted to track him down and identify him because of a mole on his penis. And the gym teachers and the principals just start losing it. They start losing, and it's all authentic. They were actually laughing for real. Bob Clark just let the camera run. He just let the camera run. And it's just, it's great. It's one of the funniest sequences I've ever seen. But Mrs. Mack trying to assure Claire's father that, hey, I mean, everything is fine here. There's no, you don't have to worry about, you don't have to worry about anything. But then again, when you see posters like that on the wall, he's obviously very like, okay, what really goes on in the sorority house? And I think this is the last time we see Mrs. Mack with a bottle. It's just like one in every room. She has one in every room. She always has a bottle of brandy or whatever on standby. Or I think that's sherry she's drinking, actually. But and she only puts lipstick on one side, or actually 25% of her lips here, until she's distracted by the cat. And yes, this sorority house not only it does have a cat as well, named Claude. And I like the interesting connection that the actress that is playing Mrs. Mack is Claudia Waldman. Claudia. That's an interesting connection. I wonder if that was intentional, by the way. But yeah, Mrs. Mack's dialogue is particularly good in this movie. God damn it, Claude, you little prick. This is very, very nice of you, Mr. Harrison. It's like the poor guy. And then, yeah, you need the capper. You need the capper. And this is a great shot, zoom out that Bob Clark does when we see Mrs. Mack and Claire's father head into the car. We zoom out, and we see Claire still in the chair, still very, very dead, up in the attic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, these phone calls. I mean, a lot of people like to give credit to When a Stranger Calls, which, aside from that opening sequence in When a Stranger Calls, I don't think that that's actually a very good horror movie. And I never saw the remake of that. But I think a lot of people, when they saw When a Stranger Calls, they said, wait a minute, this movie rips off Black Christmas. Yeah, it kind of does. I particularly love Olivia's hat in this movie. But yeah, so Keir Dullea and Olivia Hussey, they were both stars in two of the biggest films of 1968. Him, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was the #1 box office hit of the year, and Olivia Hussey, who, by the way, took this role because she apparently at this time she was seeing a psychic on a regular basis, and the psychic told her that she was destined to make a Canadian movie that would make a lot of money. Well, the funny thing is, Black Christmas didn't make a whole lot of money, but it was a success. I mean, it was filmed for about $650,000, and it eventually made over $4 million in its initial theatrical run. So it did well, and it got a couple re-releases in 1975 as it played in more cities around the United States. In fact, I mean, Leonard Maltin didn't review it in his book until he saw it in like mid 1975, and he gave it a 2.5-star rating, which is, it's okay. But then again, considering the fact that Leonard Maltin was always, hated these slasher horror movies that came out in the 80s. In fact, he gave a bomb rating to Silent Night, Deadly Night, which is the other famous Christmas horror movie from 1984, which it's not nearly that bad, but I do think that it stops short of Black Christmas's greatness at the same time. And here we see Margot Kidder giving alcohol to underage kids. Yeah. I think the little bugger is schnockered. Oh, yeah. So, but Olivia Hussey, now, one of my favorite trivia bits of all time regards Olivia Hussey and Black Christmas because in 1987, Steve Martin had journeyed to Vancouver to shoot a movie called Roxanne. And if you remember Roxanne, he basically played a fireman who had a huge nose, and it was based on Cyrano de Bergerac, which ironically just got another movie version this year with what's his name from Game of Thrones? I forget his name off the top of my head, but he plays Cyrano. But Roxanne, which is my favorite version of Cyrano de Bergerac, had Shelley Duvall in it. In third billing as Martin's friend in this very small Vancouver ski town. Olivia Hussey had auditioned for Roxanne for the role that eventually went to Shelley Duvall. Now, she obviously didn't get the part, but Steve Martin wanted to meet her because and Martin went to meet her after the audition and said, "Look, you were in one of my favorite movies of all time, and I want you to sign my copy of the movie. I would be most appreciative." And Olivia Hussey naturally thought he was talking about Romeo and Juliet. No, he was talking about Black Christmas, and he said that he had seen it by that time 28 times. So let that sink in. Steve Martin is a massive, massive Black Christmas fan. I mean, of all people, Steve Martin. Leonard Maltin blows. Oh, 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 oh. I'd like to welcome Daily Ghost and Patricia Franklin and Future Boy to the chat. Glad you could all join us tonight. And I will go ahead and give a timestamp real quick before we continue on. We are at 27 minutes and 30 seconds. So if you want to jump to that time point, that's where we are, where they're still trying to figure out what happened to Claire because she had been gone since the previous evening, but she's still dead up in the attic. I mean, she's still, sitting lifeless in the chair, and eventually the cat is really the only one that knows what happened to her. Now, okay, so okay, now, yeah, this joke in Margot Kidder just delivers this wonderfully, and in this scene, as you can notice, she really is struggling not to laugh. She is so struggling not to laugh at how she responds to this police officer as to how that you call the sorority house. Now, I should have done more research, I think, about the telephone systems of the time, because this movie is heavily reliant on, the old telephone system of the 1970s. Very mechanical, very ancient. But apparently back then, I mean, they had actual names for numbers where you would actually, if you were going to call the operator, you would say, yeah, I want to speak to this person in this state. And you would say a word and then like a 5 or 6 digit number. Here again, I'm not an expert on it. Admittedly, I should have done more research about it. But yeah, and what she tells the guy there is one of my favorite gags in the movie. Oh yeah, fellatio. It's a new, it's a new one. And of course, the cop has no idea. And this is Art Hindle again, who actually has actually done a lot of Black Christmas extras for the Blu-rays and the DVDs that came out. And he's been one of the film's biggest promoters. In fact, he did a whole new 30-minute interview for the Shout Factory Blu-ray, which I showed you earlier. But that's the thing, these people, they're genuinely concerned about their friends, even though they've been gone for less than 24 hours. Now, wait a minute. This is not like Claire. She was supposed to meet her father. She was supposed to go home for the holidays. What happened to her? And okay, Keir Dullea is a little angry. Okay, yeah. One thing we haven't mentioned this yet, but I mean, if you're watching the movie, I mean, you obviously know at this point that Olivia Hussey and Keir Dullea are apparently a couple, or at least they're on the verge of not becoming a couple. Olivia Hussey is at this time pregnant with Keir's son or child, and she doesn't want to have it. She wants to have an abortion. Now, this is interesting because this was approximately a year after Roe versus Wade, which changed abortion laws in the United States forever. And in fact, it's under threat again. But, and as tempting as it is to give my opinions on abortion, I will say that when they thought of the abortion subplot for Black Christmas, there was no political inspiration for it at all. It was all meant to serve as a conversation piece between the two characters that would invite conflict. Nothing political about the abortion subplot in this movie at all. Okay. And that's why I am not going to give my opinion on abortion, even though they're very, very strong opinions. But I'll let that lie for the time being. If we were watching something like 4 weeks, 3 months and 2 days, or another movie where abortion was the central theme of the entire movie, oh, believe me, I would be going all out. But I'm not. I'm going to let it lie. I'm going to let it lie. I mean, there's so much more to talk about anyway with Black Christmas. But it is remarkable that this film was made in 1974, only a year after Roe versus Wade, and there's this whole abortion subplot. Now, Olivia Hussey, she later did other horror movies. She was in Psycho 4: The Beginning, which was a precursor to Bates Motel in many ways because she played Mrs. Norman Bates, which of course would later be taken over by, oh God, I can't remember her name right now. Names usually sometimes escape me during the commentaries, and I apologize. But yeah. But she had done horror films since this movie. I think this was her first foray into horror, but she's done many others since then. Now, everything that Margot Kidder says here about the turtle, the giant sea turtles, apparently, yeah, they take days while having sex. They do. They spend literally days having sex. And now, she's obviously very drunk. She's, that, we all should be concerned about Claire and what happened to Claire, but she's of course too schnockered to really muster up any sympathy. And of course, Mrs. Mack and Claire's father is just looking at her in horror, like, "Oh, come on, really?" Andrea Martin is just trying not to laugh. Now, Andrea Martin, she this role that Andrea Martin plays, she's with the glasses, by the way. That role was originally supposed to be played by Gilda Radner. Now, excuse me. Now, Gilda Radner had a very small part in The Last Detail, Hal Ashby's The Last Detail, which came out a year before, as this cult member that kept on doing that chanting, like, "Oh, yo 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 yo," or whatever. She was a cult member. But she bailed out a month before the production because of the fact that she had just been cast in Saturday Night Live. And it's interesting that Andrea Martin, she's right here, would later be a regular on SCTV, which was very much like almost like a Canadian version of Saturday Night Live. So they were very big in terms of those type of shows and programs at the time. Andrea Martin later, of course, played the house mother in the 2006 remake of Black Christmas, which I promise I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But Yeah, I love the fact her name is Barb, and her words are almost like barbed wire. just oftentimes inappropriate, but at the same time still very, very funny. But it's like right now, it's like, no, come on, come on, Barb, this is not funny anymore. Okay, I mean, this is pretty serious. I mean, so she just kind of lets it die, and she goes up to get some sleep. I really feel for Claire's father here. I really do. Oh, now Keir Dullea, um, destroying the hell out of this piano after he just. Oh, thank you, Ben. Yeah, Vera Farmiga. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, I love Vera Farmiga, and I can't believe that she didn't come to me at that point. But so the music in this movie by Carl Zitterer is, I think, terrifying. And a lot of the music that you hear in the movie is actually like forks and other tools being like slide across a piano to give those sounds, which are terrifying. So a lot of the sound effects in this movie are from a piano, which makes sense because Keir Dullea's character wanted to be a concert pianist. And, later he says, I've been living in the same room for 8 damn years and whatever. But now he just wants to settle down with Olivia Hussey and have a child. But of course, Olivia Hussey is not hearing any of that. I don't want to have the child. I don't want to be with you, Peter. And, there you go. That's 100% her choice. So apparently we have this new subplot come in, which apparently a high school student has gone missing, and they have to search for her in this park in the freezing, freezing cold. I mean, as you can see, there's snow everywhere. Oh, and here we have, of course, John Saxon, which a lot of horror films fans know from Nightmare on Elm Street. He played the sheriff in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. And here he is playing another sheriff. Now, this role was originally supposed to be played by Edmund O'Brien. And if that name rings a bell, it's because of the fact that he won an Oscar for The Barefoot Contessa in 1954 with Ava Gardner and Humphrey Bogart. And, he did many other movies, but apparently he was suffering from Alzheimer's at the time. And when he came to Canada to shoot, the producers realized, oh no, he's not going to be able to do this movie. He was also in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, 1939, The Killers, White Heat, Hitchhiker, Fantastic Voyage, and he was also in The Wild Bunch, only 5 years before that. But he was suffering from Alzheimer's, so he wasn't able to do the movie, unfortunately, and he passed away in 1985. But he was in Orson Welles' The Other Side of the Wind, which just got a recent release after it's reconstructed only a couple of years ago. But so Edmund O'Brien was going to play the sheriff, but he was, of course, replaced by John Saxon. Now, I'm trying to think. I know I've seen Saxon in other things, and sadly, John Saxon passed away last year at the age of 83. He passed away in July of 2020, so he is no longer with us. But he was in Enter the Dragon the year before Black Christmas, and he had done many other films like Death of a Gunfighter, From Dusk Till Dawn, many, many other films. He had a long career, and sadly just passed away last year. Oh, so finally Mrs. Mack is going to meet the stranger in the house as she looks for that damn cat. I mean, that's very true. Yeah, Saxon flew in the same night they shot this scene. That is very, very true. Because because of the fact that Edmund O'Brien apparently, I think from what I understand, he had had a breakdown at the airport or something, and so they had to get John Saxon in immediately. Like they had to get him, in the park, ready to shoot, ready to go, because he had already read the script. And initially, he was very disappointed when he didn't ultimately get the part, but poor Edmund O'Brien, he couldn't do it, so they brought in John Saxon, which, and John Saxon was great for this role. I mean, oh man, this is so terrifying. I mean, God. I mean, this stuff, I mean, considering the fact we've not seen this guy's face at all, considering the fact we've only seen him in the shadows, very, very, very little of this guy that's hanging out in the attic. I mean, this is just terrifying stuff. All right, God damn it, you can wait. And so she goes up into the attic here. Our last bit of Mrs. Mac goodness in this movie. Oh. See, we only see his hands. We don't see his face. We don't see his face at all. We just see the hands. And he's holding what appears to be some kind of hook. Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh, God. Oh. And like I said, those sound effects, they just make it all too creepy. All too creepy. Oh, shit. Yeah, her reaction right there. Amazing. I'd be that terrified too, honestly. She hears something, she turns her head, and then whoosh. And as you can see, we don't see the hook actually penetrate Mrs. Mack. In fact, there's very little penetration in any of the murders here. There's very, very little gore. Oh, there's so little gore in this movie. See, that's why, I mean, I just think it's, I mean, initially this film was dismissed by critics because, they thought it was just, horrible with these murders and everything. But, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, this has been labeled more Hitchcockian and psychological in nature. Hardly a drop of blood. And I honestly, I mean, remember this is the same year that we also had Texas Chainsaw Massacre, two of the landmark horror films of the 1970s, and they both came out in the same year, in 1974. Now, Texas Chainsaw, oh God, oh God, this stuff is so, so terrifying. The noises, the sounds that this guy emits all throughout this bit right here is just unbearable. I mean, it's just, it makes me shake. It honestly makes me shake. It's so scary. But yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Going back to the cinematography and how we can feel this freezing weather. I mean, and they've gone around a can with a fire and everything. We can literally feel how cold this movie is. We really can feel it. Now, before I talk about the remakes, or actually I should say remake, because I don't really want to acknowledge the 2019 movie because literally everybody has had nothing but negative words about it. But the first time I watched Black Christmas was I was in the Navy. I was stationed in Japan. And I had always known about the movie because of Leonard Maltin's review in his book. But I didn't get a chance to see it until I was about 20, 21 years old. And I remember I found a VHS copy in the video store that they had on this Navy base in Japan. And it was the Warner Brothers VHS release. Subsequently, Warner Brothers did not release this on DVD or Blu-ray at all. It's been handled by other companies since then. But, oh yeah, just by the reaction. We don't need to see it. We know by the reaction that, that this high school student met a very, very awful, horrible end in that park. Very, very chilling stuff. But I watched it for the first time when I was like 20, 21 years old. And I could definitely say this is a movie that 100% lives up to its tagline. The very infamous tagline, which is, if this movie doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight. That's a hell of a tagline right there. And I do think it's 100% true. I mean, just by Olivia Hussey's eyes as she's, going crazy by what she's hearing over the phone, uh, it's it's terrifying. It's terrifying stuff. Now, who is on the phone here? Who is the one making these phone calls? We're only given clues. We're only really giving clues as to who. I mean, we hear the name Billy and we hear the name Agnes, and there is a female voice on the phone. But, are they different voices? Are they the same voice? And of course, we have no idea where the phone calls are coming from at this point. I really love this house too. I mean, this was a perfect house that they used for the sorority location. When I saw this movie for the first time, I was genuinely terrified, and I started showing it to a lot of people in the Navy who had never seen it, and that they were blown away by the movie as much as I was. Particularly horror fans who had never seen it. Like I said, this movie's reputation was very, very slow. Sort of like with Harold and Maude. It took years for it to get the recognition that it rightfully deserves as a classic. Here again, the POV camera, which Sean S. Cunningham utilized in Friday the 13th in 1980, and it would continue on from there in the slasher period. Time stamp real quick. We are at 48 minutes and 20 seconds. So, I'm sorry, 46 minutes and 30 seconds. 46:30 for anybody who wants to jump in and go to that running time. But so Keir Dullea just like came downstairs out of nowhere, and of course this is when we really start to suspect: is Keir Dullea the guy in the attic? Is he really the guy that's been hanging up in the attic this whole time? And we see him like roaming around the sorority house at different points. I mean, it's not really made clear. I mean, like I said, one thing that Bob Clark really wanted to emphasize in this movie was ambiguity. He loved the ambiguity of certain moments in this film, particularly at the ending. By the way, this is supposed to be a set in a town called Bedford. And yes, that is in fact a direct reference to Bedford Falls in It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, they're just playing a joke. Yeah, this cop is so lackadaisical about any reports that come to him. No wonder they get so pissed off at him, because he just comes off like an uncaring moron. Yeah, whatever. This is just business. Whatever. Like he's not alarmed at all, and he's not making any of these connections when the audience, including John Saxon, who realizes later, something's going on here. Okay, this sorority house is, that people have been disappearing. They've been getting these phone calls late at night. What the hell is going on? But of course, that cop is just like, yeah, whatever. It's just people playing pranks. These are not normal prank calls, dude. They're really not. Yeah, Keir Dullea seems bound and determined to to force Olivia Hussey to have this baby and be a father, which of course is giving her tremendous pressure. But okay, let's talk about Black Christmas 2006 for a moment, because okay. I mean, Black Christmas the remake came out, of course, in the mid 2000s, after we had gotten the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake and the Halloween remake, and we were about to get like a Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Everybody was remaking the horror classics, and of course, Black Christmas was about to get that treatment. Well, Bob Clark served as executive producer, and the idea that they decided to run with was we were going to flesh out the characters of Billy and Agnes, who in this movie we really have no idea who the hell Billy and Agnes are. But one of the other inspirations for Black Christmas is, in fact, a massacre that occurred in the 1940s or 1950s, when a 14-year-old boy just bludgeoned his family to death. And that's more or less what Billy is based on. But I mean, but like I said, everything is very, very cryptic. You know, there's no easy answers or no easy connections. I mean, we just need to like kind of fill in the blanks ourselves, which is what I really love to. I mean, I love ambiguity in movies. I really do. Just to give you all an example, William Friedkin, who of course directed the French Connection and The Exorcist, in 1980, he made one of the most controversial movies of all time called Cruising with Al Pacino. And it was basically about a cop who goes undercover in the gay S&M community of early 1980s New York to try to get a serial killer. Now, for those who haven't seen it, I don't want to give it too much away, but that ending is all about ambiguity, just like this movie. And I love how it ends, but of course the critics just demolished it. They thought it was just one of the worst things they'd ever seen. And of course, like Black Christmas, that got a critical reevaluation later. John Saxon and the other cop, you know, they realized, wait a minute, fellatio. Wait a minute, what the hell is this? There's no John Saxon is really good here, I think. It's like, what the hell is this? Oh, that's the number at the sorority house. Yeah. Fellatio. Yeah, it's a new exchange. It's too bad we can't really do this joke. I mean, nowadays with cell phones, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work nowadays. But the guy's eyes are so wide, he just has no clue. He has no clue. This movie is making me stressy. Yeah, exactly. Hussey's reaction on the phone is awesome. Yeah, I mean, we really feel for her. We really are as terrified as she is that she, and especially you got to think that when they start tapping the phone, she is practically forced to listen to this guy over and over again on the phone, making these weird gibberish noises. You know, yeah, I mean, I don't know how I could deal with that. I remember this was in the days where it took him like 10 minutes to actually track a call wherever it was coming from. That's one of the most famous lines in the movie is when Keir Dullea says, you know, how can you talk about, you know, killing this baby? It sounds like you're just having a wart removed. Here again, I'm not going to get into the politics. I'm not going to do it. Because in this movie, I don't think it's altogether necessary. This subplot was just meant to serve as a source of conflict between the characters. Roy Moore and Bob Clark never intended on making any political statements, and that's why I'm going to avoid any political statements on this commentary. But if I ever do a commentary for 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, stand by on that, okay? So John Saxon, you know, sees Keir Dullea leave, and of course is obviously a little suspicious at this moment. A little suspicious of this guy. Seems a little triggered. And so here's where they, you know, he brings a guy named Bill Graham over to tap the phone. And as he says numerous times, you need to keep this guy on the phone, no matter what. You need to keep him on the phone as long as possible, or we're not going to ever find out who this guy is. I mean, as he says in this one scene, remember, this is all mechanical. I mean, this is an ancient telephone system. I mean, the people that during production, I bet none of these people ever would have imagined that we would be living in a cell phone world in the 21st century. But yeah, this is ancient technology. Working line. Yeah. I love in all these old movies, of course, they always say the phone numbers is having that 555 area code, or actually not the area code so much as the first three numbers of the phone number, whether it's the area code or not. But they always use those same three digits. I mean, you see it in Ghostbusters, give us a call at 555, whatever. It's just like it's like something that's standard that they've thrown in movies, that every phone number has to begin with 555 for some reason. I don't know what the significance of that is or what the inspiration is, but that's the way it is. Was she seen anyone besides Chris Hayden? No, no one. A girl as normal as can be. In fact, she's obviously one of the least wild of all the sorority sisters. I mean, um, so going back to 2006 Black Christmas. Now, I remember when it came out in the theaters. It came out in Christmas of 2006, and the reviews on it were universally negative. And I had this horrible feeling, like, okay, first of all, why are they even bothering remaking it? But because Bob Clark was one of the executive producers, I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt. So, okay, I know this is going to sound really bizarre, but it's the truth, because back then I was seeing a lot of movies in the theater. I bought a ticket to see Charlotte's Web. No, for real. I bought a ticket to see Charlotte's Web with Julia Roberts. I went to see that movie first, and then I basically snuck in to Black Christmas. I didn't want to pay any money for it, and I knew where it was playing inside the theater. So I thought, oh, whatever. I'll just walk in, I'll watch it. I hated it with an absolute passion. Now, you got to understand that the more you love something, and then when somebody comes along and remakes it, you're already tempted to hate it to its core. What bothered me about Black Christmas 2006 was that they felt the need to give Billy and Agnes this whole backstory, and to increase the carnage candy by several levels. I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, Billy has yellow skin. He dismembers his family, just like based on the inspiration that I told you about with the 14-year-old boy, and he makes Christmas cookies. And the 2006 movie also has this weird obsession with eyeballs. And I can see where that comes from, because in this movie we do see several shots of just Billy's eye. Just literally, that's it, just of his eye. We don't see the rest of his face. So I can see where that's coming from. But here again, I just don't understand why they felt the need to give Billy this whole backstory, because it kind of, I don't know, it kind of diminishes the power of this movie. But let me say, over the years, I've kind of come around on the 2006 movie. I don't think it's great. And like I said, Harvey Weinstein, sadly, molested with the final cut way too much, because it sort of sets everything up as a whodunit when it really wasn't. And that's the thing. The 2006 movie, it's very, very sloppy. I don't give a shit about any of the actresses. I don't care how hot they are. That no conflicts. There are no conflicts whatsoever, and they're so interchangeable. And they're just sitting around bored. I mean, these people, they don't sit around just bored. Margot Kidder talking about the Turtles, or Olivia Hussey being genuinely concerned about her friend, and these phone calls and everything. The 2006 version of Black Christmas is, I will say, it is at least watchable, but you need to have a strong stomach. And you need to deal with this whole backstory, which, here again, I don't think any of it was necessary. But I will say that in retrospect, considering the fact that the 2019 movie was so hated, and it was so called out for being an insult to the original. And from what I understand, the new one is just in name only. It's not really a remake. I still haven't seen it, but like I said, every single person has told me it is not worth it, especially if you are a fan of this movie. Okay, how creepy is that? You know, you see the guy's hand and he just keeps rocking. Uh, I mean, and that's the thing. We only need clues, okay? We're only given a few clues as to who Billy and Agnes were. And you think, okay, this is Billy, and he's obviously thinking that this is Agnes. We don't need any more than that. We really don't. I mean, like I said, I will say one thing about the 2006 movie. It is gorgeously shot. I mean, it's from the same writing and directing team as the remake of Willard, which I actually really liked. I mean, the Willard remake had Ethan Hawke in it. And of course, they also worked on the Final Destination movies and the X-Files. So, look, I mean, the 2006 movie had some pretty impressive pedigree in the cast and crew. And and what's really, really sad is that approximately 4 months after the 2006 movie came out in theaters, and right before it came out on DVD in 2006, Bob Clark unfortunately met a very tragic end. He and his son were killed in a drunk driving accident. They were killed by a drunk driver, him and his own son, which is devastating. And look, I mean, say what you want about Bob Clark. I mean, he made some bad movies. I mean, nobody will call Baby Geniuses a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. But look, I've seen enough of his movies, and I enjoy his movies enough. Even Rhinestone. Everybody gave shit about Rhinestone. I actually kind of like Rhinestone. Sylvester Stallone and Dolly Parton. And he made other movies like Turk 182. He made numerous other movies, but he also made some crap like Loose Cannons with Dan Aykroyd and Gene Hackman. Which, trust me, no matter how much you like those actors, that is a movie to stay away from. But I mean, and I think that's what I think when he was killed in that auto accident, that drunk driving accident, I think that I felt a little. I guess I felt a little bit more apologetic towards the 2006 movie in a weird way, because when I saw it again on DVD and I saw the extra features that were with the 2006 movie, I was like, okay, you know what? I appreciate the direction they were taking, which was in the exact opposite of the original 1974 film. I can at least appreciate that. I didn't care for all the gore. I didn't care for all the murders. And believe me, I have some gory movies in my collection. Don't get me wrong. Some gory slashers, as a matter of fact. But, I mean, Black Christmas, did it really need to go in that direction? Did we really need to have Christmas cookies made out of human flesh? I mean, that's just not very clever. I just don't think it's very clever, or even more so, scary. I just don't think it is. From Charlotte's Web to Black Christmas, nice. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I felt the need to not pay a dime for it. And I thought, you know what? I'll just see another movie, and then I'll walk in and see Black Christmas and whatever. And, here again, as much as I hated it at the time I saw it, I've come around on it a bit. It's not terrible. But like I said, if Harvey Weinstein hadn't screwed around with it, I think that it would have been. I think the reputation, at least when it came out in theaters, would have been better. And of course, religious groups, argued that the movie was trash when it came out. And it's like, oh, you're destroying the sanctity of Christmas, And oh god, it's the biggest joke in the world. I mean, let me put it this way: Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's not a great movie, but at the same time, I have a lot more support and forgiveness for that movie due to the fact it was so hated. I mean, all these mothers in Minnesota who kept complaining about, oh, Santa Claus is it's a sacred figure. Yeah, you know what? He's also fictional. Okay, I mean, let's be clear here. Okay, Santa Claus was created so that children would. Okay, I'm going to shut up about that for a minute, because that is a creepy shot of Billy's hand in the shadows, just coming up here. And this is pretty much where we see the only gore in the whole movie, is when we just see his eye. Oh my God. That shot of just his eyeball is, ugh. That gets to me. It really does. And so sadly, here he is murdering Margot Kidder while these Christmas carolers are outside. So it's believable that it would drown out the noise. And Olivia Hussey has just no idea what's going on. Completely believable, I think. But that's the thing. This may be the quintessential scene in the whole movie of how Bob Clark was brilliantly able to mix the traditional elements of Christmas with full-blown, uncompromising, unmerciful horror. It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. So just to finish up on the 2006 movie, here again, I don't love it, and I don't know if I will ever see it again, but I will confess I have a little bit more respect for it than I did when I saw it in the theaters. And I will probably never, ever watch the 2019 movie. Like I said, I mean, if you're a fan of the 1974 Black Christmas, from what everybody has said, at least in my circle, that 2019 movie is an absolute insult. It's an absolute insult, and not just because from what I understand, because they dropped the rating down to PG-13, but of course it was trying to be more contemporary, I guess, with the Me Too era or whatever, or being woke, as people like to complain about now. But honestly, I mean, one of my podcast buddies on Region Free, she had the most vicious words for it just a couple months ago, and and said it was maybe not the worst thing she's ever seen, but it's definitely it's definitely just total garbage, and it shouldn't be messed with whatsoever. If you're going to watch another Black Christmas movie, check out the 2006 version. But don't even bother with 2019. Just don't even bother. So yeah, Olivia Hussey is still having to endure these phone calls. But here again, we have to find out who this guy is. And I unfortunately I have not seen Bob Clark's Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. That was the movie he made in '72, right before this. And I still, unfortunately, to this day, I haven't seen it. But since next year is going to be the 50th anniversary for it, stand by for a 50th anniversary commentary for that one. Absolutely. And thank you for coming into the chat, MLB Fan 122. Wonderful to have you. Excuse me. Need something to drink now. Excuse me. Yeah, Saxon is the John Saxon is the detective here. He's asking all the right questions, and of course that he wants these answers as much as the audience does. He really does. Like what the hell is going on now? It's like, I mean, how much nonsense is going to be around this guy up at the front desk? He's just like tired of it. He's like ready to go home, man. I'm done. I haven't had enough of this crap. And this is just a very little brief bit where apparently one of the locals shot at the cops for coming on his property. It's a it kind of doesn't go anywhere. It's very brief. In fact, if there's any scene that I would suggest that it didn't really need in this movie, it's probably this one. But hey, it's very, very short, and it has a little funny little payoff at the end where he tells his second man, look, yeah, keep laughing, just keep laughing, okay? And of course, Andrea Martin and Olivia Hussey just have no clue at this point that Barb, played by Margot Kidder, is dead, stabbed to death by the unicorn figurines or whatever. Yeah, but pretty much. Let me do a timestamp. I'll do another timestamp here real quick. We are at 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 30 seconds. So for anybody who wants to jump in, 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 30 seconds. So we have a little less than 30 minutes to go. And I'll tell you, I mean, no matter how many times I watch the third act of this movie, I still find it genuinely terrifying, like bone chilling. Like I said, I don't know why, but there's something about Black Christmas that gets on my nerves and gets under my skin more than any other horror movie. It's amazing. I mean, The Shining doesn't do that for me. I mean, hell, to be honest, I laughed at The Shining when I saw it at 13 years old. And while The Exorcist is a brilliant movie, none of it scared me. I mean, it takes a lot for a movie to scare me, but this movie, oh, it did. It did. Absolutely. I remember one review I read about Black Christmas where the critic said, this film, it's almost like, having a warm blanket wrapped around you, but at the same time, you're still being chilled to the bone, despite having this warm blanket around you. Man. I'm 4 seconds ahead of you. Don't worry, I won't spoil it. Yeah, don't spoil it. Don't spoil it, because the way it's revealed is so powerful. Aside from being terrifying, it's just powerful as hell. I mean, anybody that's in just a situation, I think, would petrified at this moment. Like, okay, now the detective is thinking, is Peter the guy? Is Peter the one that's engineering all this campaign of terror over the telephone? Is he the one that's doing it? Well, we're going to have an even stronger clue that he may be responsible here in a moment. And of course, John Saxon, he really wants to know, okay, so what's going on? What's going on with you and this guy, Peter? I mean, what exactly is the deal here? Well, and she finally has to confess to somebody other than Peter that she is in fact pregnant and she doesn't want the baby. And this, of course, I think might have triggered Peter into going into some kind of might have made him extremely psychotic. But is he the one that's making the phone calls? Or is he the one that's up in the attic hanging out and murdering the sisters? I mean, we don't know yet. Now, this scene I have always found unnerving, because if you look between Andrea Martin and Olivia Hussey, there's like a moving shadow between them. And the movie doesn't call attention to it, which I think is even more terrifying. But we're not even sure if that's a human. But at the same time, there is some kind of moving shadow between the two actresses. See right there. What is that? Is that a person? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and in all the bonus material and even on the commentaries, nobody points that out. Is that a shadow of a person moving around? Certainly looks like it. It might be Bob Clark for all we know. And I will say, as much as I do love this 2K scan of Black Christmas, all of you know how much I love audio commentaries, but I have to confess that the 3 audio commentaries on here are, unfortunately, I think rather mediocre, because, I mean, there is one with Bob Clark, and unfortunately, he doesn't so much talk about the production of the movie as he does talk about what's happening on screen. But I mean, he does, and every now and then he does have some interesting things to say. The second commentary with Keir Dullea and John Saxon is even worse, because there's a lot of gaps. Keir Dullea, he talks only over his scenes. And John Saxon, while he sounds like he's watching the entire movie, he doesn't say a whole lot. And finally, there's a third commentary with Nick Mancuso in the Billy character. And I'll be perfectly honest with all of you right now. It may be one of the worst commentaries I've ever had to endure because, he's basically pretending to be Billy all throughout this commentary. And I'm sorry, he just comes off like so annoying. I mean, I don't know. It's almost as if if Billy was watching this movie and this is how he would react. But at the same time, could we have had, I don't know, maybe Joe Bob Briggs, maybe some other horror fans do a commentary for the Blu-ray rather than just these three commentary tracks, which had a lot of dead air, despite the fact that they all were associated with the movie itself. It's one of the more disappointing examples of a movie having multiple audio commentaries on its physical media release, and none of the commentaries are really any good. I wanted to pick up that Dead Zone Blu-ray, which came out earlier in the year, because that has 5 or 6 audio commentaries, the Shout Factory version of the Dead Zone. So I really want to get that just to listen to all those, but I haven't picked it up yet, unfortunately. But still, one thing I will give Shout Factory credit for is that all the extras from pretty much all the previous DVD releases have been included. The 12 Days of Black Christmas documentary, Black Christmas Revisited, Black Christmas Legacy, On Screen Black Christmas, archival interviews with actors Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder, Art Hindle, and John Saxon, and producer-director Bob Clark, as well as an alternate title sequence and trailers and radio spots. I mean, look, Shout Factory put a lot into this release. I mean, it's a 2-disc edition. But like I said, the 3 commentaries on the first disc are very, very, very disappointing. And in fact, the bonus feature on that Blu-ray, which I consider, oh God, this is scary. Oh boy. Billy was just waiting there for her, waiting for her to come in. And John Saxon, of course, discovers the piano that was destroyed by Keir Dullea earlier, going into a rage over what's going on in his life right now. So I think I think Andrea Martin is, unfortunately, I think we should assume at this point that she's probably met her death at the hands of Billy, who's still hanging out up there. And now it's just Jess left in the house, just Olivia Hussey. And Hussey's performance in this movie, I think, is just, oh God. Okay, now this may be the most disturbing sequence in the whole movie. I mean, in a movie packed with disturbing sequences, this phone call, indescribably terrifying. I mean, just when we get these little clues as to who Billy and Agnes are, and all these incredibly unnerving noises that that Billy emits over the phone. Oh God. And the way Clark just, plays around with the camera. I mean, it's terrifying stuff, legitimately. Are they going to actually get him this time? Are they actually going to catch him in time before he hangs up now? You left Billy alone with Agnes. Where's the baby? Where's the baby? God damn. Now, look, I understand that I'm sure some people during this moment are asking, well, wait a minute. Knowing what we know now, is she hearing it from inside the phone, or is she hearing it from inside the house? They got him. Come on, Billy's sick. And of course, well, okay. The audience is pretty much aware now that, okay, I mean, even though it's going to have this chilling revelation in just a few minutes, but yeah, we now have a good idea where these phone calls are coming from, and it's just unbearably scary. Unbearably. Give mommy the baby. It's amazing. The whole abortion subplot with Jess and Peter, and this whole other subplot with the phone calls with Billy and Agnes. Like, oh God! Like, what noise was that? Was that a human noise? I mean, for God's sakes, these two stories, they really have nothing in common, but there are parallels. There are parallels regarding a baby and possible murder. I mean, yeah. I mean, here yet we don't need clean answers. That's why I'm saying is that the 2006 movie, there was just no suspense. It's not a bad watch, but there was just no suspense, at least not from the movie this movie had exhibited. And the revelation has come out. The calls are coming from inside the house, as influenced by the urban legend of the babysitter and the man upstairs. And oh God, the cop out front just got his throat slit. So, oh man, Jess is in trouble. Jess is in trouble. And I got to confess, she may be my favorite final girl in any one of these types of movies. I think Olivia Hussey as Jess is my absolute favorite. I mean, you all can have Amy Steele from Friday 2. You can all have Jamie Lee Curtis from Halloween. I think Olivia Hussey from Black Christmas is my absolute favorite. I adore her in this movie. And I really want to get that Psycho 4 Blu-ray because it has a commentary with Henry Thomas, who plays Norman Bates, and Olivia Hussey, who plays Mrs. Bates, along with the director Mick Garris. I love the Psycho franchise. I have all the first 3 movies on Blu-ray, and I still need to get that 4th one. Miss Bradford, this is Sergeant Nash. Sergeant Nash. Yeah, I think I was about to piss my pants at this moment when I first saw it, because it's that disturbing and that scary. Don't ask any questions. Just put the phone on the hook and leave the house. Don't think about it. Don't ask questions. Just leave the damn house. Oh, man. And here's where it comes out. The caller is in the house, and this is one of the most terrifying zooms I've ever seen in a motion picture. Oh, God. We just have her face. She's not on the, she's going to let the phone go. And oh, God. Oh, God. Terrifying. Just terrifying. Now, I know a lot. I mean, I'm sure there are people right now screaming at the screen, just leave the house. Do what he says. Just leave the damn house. And I tell you, Olivia Hussey, she has some lungs in her. Okay, she screams. Okay, she does emit some screams in this movie, which are terrifying. And damn, does she deliver them with power. God. All you had to do was leave the house. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't grab it. Don't go up there. Oh no. I mean, let's be honest. Most people would have left the house. But look, I mean, they're Canadian, okay? They care about their sisters, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. I highly doubt that in an American sorority house that they probably would have done the same thing. Look, okay, I'm not trying to shit on fraternities and sororities, but at the same time, when I was in college, I mean, my whole question was like, well, wait a minute, why do you have to pay to have friends? I don't understand that concept at all. And of course, all the alcohol and rape that goes on with all that. Here again, not all fraternities and sororities, but look, I mean, it does happen, and I did not want to be around that crowd at all. Let me put it this way: the one fraternity party I went to in college, I just remember one thing. This guy who was drunk, he came up to me and said, "Hey, you see that guy over there? I want to beat him up just because he's big." Where is Billy hiding? Uh, this reveal is awesome right here. She opens the door. It's hard to get open. And there's Barb and Andrea Martin dead on the bed. And then this shot right here. Oh, God. Agnes, it's me, Billy. That eye is not human. Okay, I mean, no, that color eye is not human right there. Oh. And Billy, of course, emits some noises here, which are just, oh, God. This is some of the scariest stuff I've ever had to endure in a movie. This is, oh, God. Yeah. Oh, man, when he pulls the hair. Oh, man. Oh. Ugh. Like I said, this stuff still gets to me. I'm not kidding. This is not an exaggeration right now. This is just terrifying stuff. And it just very few other movies have terrified me like this one has. This has the power to, I think, overwhelm any audience, whether they're into horror or not. I think this does have the power to get to anybody. It's almost too intense. It really is. We hear the wind howling, and we hear all these weird other noises outside. I mean, oh man. And remember, this is in Canada, where the temperatures are probably still below zero at this point. I mean, remember that. Oh man. Anybody else in the chat? I mean, please. Hey, look, we're in the home stretch here, so hey, please give me your opinions on Black Christmas, especially if you're a first-time watcher. I would really like to get your reactions to this because, yeah, oh man. Yeah, Bob Clark and Reginald Morris, what they achieved with the cinematography and with the POV shots, it truly is revolutionary. I think. I mean, revolutionary in the horror genre, but at the same time, I do think this goes even beyond the horror genre to something that's even higher. Um, Seeing these type of shadows behind dirty windows. I mean, come on. I mean, this is just. Oh, is this Billy? Is this Peter? Who could it be? Either way, Hussey is too petrified to really care. It's like, oh God, it's just how slow he walks. I mean, oh God. Oh God. If I was in that basement, I oh man. No. I would shrivel up. I really would. Okay, it sounds like Peter. It sounds like Peter. And we go for this very long zoom into the window, which is like covered with crap, scraping ice off the window. Yeah. And that is indeed Peter. But was he inside the house? Was he pretending to be Billy? It's very unusual that he would go straight to the basement window to try to find Jess. That is really weird. Just the way he says Jess when we don't even see half of his face, that alone is terrifying. And that's the thing. We don't even get a clear shot of him in this whole sequence. I mean, we see him largely in shadow. Him and his shadow. I'm never sleeping again. I'm telling you, Jinx. Oh, this is legitimately terrifying stuff. And look, horror like comedy is all subjective, and I understand that, some horror films will not scare certain people, even if they, whatever. I mean, but I don't know. This movie, every person I've shown it to has been legitimately scared. Not a joke. I mean, everybody I showed this movie to in the Navy, everybody I've shown it to since then have called it a incredibly intense experience. Well, the way he just knocks over the mannequin as he goes to her, like, oh my God, man. Ugh. Imagine seeing this in 1974. Man, oh man. Yeah, I can't imagine. I just can't imagine at all. I thought it was supposed to be a comedy. Yeah. Well, there is comedy in it, and Bob Clark was known for his comedy, but yeah, it's oh man. Oh man. Oh, okay. Mm. So, okay, we are at 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 30 seconds. We have approximately 8 minutes left. Now, if you've never experienced this ending before, stand by to stand by. I mean, stay in your seat, ladies and gentlemen, because, yeah, this ending is unbearably creepy. It's unbearable. We don't even know if Peter's dead, but obviously, Jess defended herself. Is she still alive? She is, but she's obviously extremely traumatized, and now she's in a very deep sleep, probably caused by medication. Much less Peter. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, this is, pretty much the last sequence in the movie where, and here again, the camera. We start with her on the bed. We, we slowly come back to reveal the room. John Saxon, the detective, is in the chair. Art Hindle is at the window. Claire's father is there as well. And they're all trying to deal with this aftermath. Press is showing up outside the house, wanting to know what the hell is going on, obviously. I think that wraps everything up here, but of course Sergeant Nash would say that. Oh yeah, we're done. I mean, there's nothing more here, and I think I think we pretty much got this covered. Man, Nash, get the hell out of here, you dumbass! God. By the end, you just want to strangle Sergeant Nash. He is such an idiot. Yes, the girl's father is upstairs, but he can't tell you anything. And wouldn't you know it, Claire's father passes out. He literally just passes out without warning. That's insane. God. Okay, the camera, it stays still. Now, watch what Bob Clark and Reginald Morris do with the camera with this final sequence. Seriously, okay? There's one more cop up there. He turns off the light and he leaves. All we hear, as the dialogue slowly goes away, all we hear is the tick of that giant clock, that grandfather clock, which we heard earlier. Patience with the camera. We hear the clock ticking. We see Jess just in the bed. Then we start moving the camera. We start moving the camera to the right, very, very, very slowly. Go to the next room. You see the blood on the mattress there, or the dried blood rather, from Barb and Andrea Martin's character. We keep going. Slow, very patient. Very, very patient. That's Claire's room with the suitcase. Stop there. Then we keep going. Keep going. And I'm just going to stay silent throughout these this very last minute here as the camera creeps along. All you hear is that grandfather clock. That's all you hear. Zoom in on the basement door, indistinct scene. You see the door slightly open. Agnes, it's me, Billy. The bodies are still up in the attic. They still have no clue that Claire and Mrs. Mack are still dead up in the attic. And we hear Billy's voice. But is Billy still up there? And then the camera comes away from the attic window as we come in front of the house again, like we started out as. Oh. And what do we hear before the credits roll? What do we hear? Still gets to me. Still gets to me. After all this time, here again, the ambiguity is glorious. It's glorious. Oh, man. Oh, man. That is 1974's Black Christmas, produced and directed by Bob Clark, written by Roy Moore, and starring Olivia Hussey, Keir, Dullea, Margot Kidder, and Andrea Martin. All were wonderful. And this is, without a doubt, one of my favorite horror films ever. And even on multiple viewings, it still scares the shit out of me. No joke. Oh, come all ye faithful, the St. Simon's Choir. Jingle Bells and Choral Thanks by the Counterpoint Sisters. Yeah. Produced in cooperation with the Canadian Film Development Corporation and Famous Player. And the phone just continues to ring. It continues to ring. Oh my God. So that was Black Christmas. I really hope you all enjoyed it, whether you saw it for the first time now or if you've seen it before and you wanted to join me to watch it. I mean, you have no idea how much I appreciate all you joining me tonight. And Merry Christmas to all of you. Merry Christmas to all of your families. Here again, if you want to get Black Christmas, I do recommend getting the Shout Factory Blu-ray, which has a 2K scan. Hopefully we'll probably will have another release at some point with a 4K. But for right now, this is as good as it gets right here as far as Black Christmas. And before I end the stream, I will announce that my next audio commentary is Monday night. Monday, December 27th. Actually, at this point, since I'm on the East Coast, it will be tomorrow night. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m., I will be doing an audio commentary for the 50th anniversary of Diamonds Are Forever, the James Bond film starring Sean Connery and Jill St. John and Charles Gray and Lana Wood. That will be Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And also the very first commentary, the very first 50th anniversary commentary I will do for 1972 will be the first weekend in January, and it will be for this little-known movie called J.W. Coop, directed and produced and starring Cliff Robertson, about a convict released after 10 years in prison who wants to be successful back on the rodeo circuit. Very unusual film that's not been seen by many people, but if you're a Cliff Robertson fan, you don't want to miss it. So Monday night will be Diamonds Are Forever with Sean Connery, and next weekend will be J.W. Coop with Cliff Robertson. Thank you, everybody, again for joining me in the chat. Daily Ghost, Cliff Booth, Jinx Hart, Daily Ghost, MLB Fan 122, Ben Grimm, Patricia Franklin, Future Boy, and Daniel Shine. You're all wonderful. Merry Christmas to all of you. And I will see you on Monday night when we do Diamonds Forever. Take care.